Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I am Taylor Andre. Waking up with Taylor Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up, but about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. My soul sister is in the building virtually. Rep Ayanna Pressley, we are so blessed in the city of Boston, in the 7th Congressional District of Boston, to have Ayanna Pressley as our voice and our representative. Especially last night, we had the event, your music. Yes. Tu música, tu voz, tu voto. And it was absolutely amazing. And we are going to continue that conversation about your voice and your vote with somebody said, yes, I love me some Ayanna, as we all do. So first and foremost, I just want to pray over you for a second, because they come at you every single day. You are attacked. And so I need you to know that I light sage for you on a regular basis and pray over you and your family. And I know for a fact Twitter's out here making sure that Trump don't get death threats. But when you and your sisters was getting death threats, it was okay. And so we as a community are praying over you and your family. And just thank you for doing what you do and putting yourself in the line of fire at the front lines for us, fighting for what's right. We truly do appreciate you.
Thank you, sis. I appreciate that. I received the covering and the sage, and when you think about that year was like the most today. We actually here. I don't know what to do.
Do you have any headphones? It's okay. I'll mute myself. It's fine. Yeah. Don't worry.
I don't want to. Okay, is that better? Okay, cool. When I think about the fact that, like, Dr. Martin, I mean, look, for a long time, being a Black leader meant that you would lose your life. You know, no one got into it to be a martyr, but you were going to be profiled by the FBI. You were going to receive death threats. So, in some ways, I know that myself and, D.A. Rollins and, Rep Miranda, I don't want to leave anyone out. And honestly, I can't leave anyone out, because every elected official of color, every female elected official of color has experienced vitriol online and threats overtly or covertly. And so in some ways, I do see it as par for the course. If you are not doing the work of actively dismantling systemic and structural racism, you're not going to make anyone uncomfortable. We are shaking the table because we seek to have a different legacy, to improve outcomes. And so when you are disrupting and upending the status quo, many people will be intimidated and threatened by that. So I received the covering, but I also accept it as evidence that I am on the right track.
Ashe. I can attest to that. Today, I would like for us to focus on voting, but people who vote, Ayanna, vote. Like, Black dads matter. Yes, they do.
Shout out from Frugals, Nubian Square. Support Black independent bookstores like Frugals, where they, have, in addition to some knowledge for your brain, items like this that you can buy to give you joy, to restore your soul. And so this is from Frugals. Thank you.
Bookstore is in is in Roxbury on Warren Street. And shameless plug, Finally Home, the step-by-step guide for people preparing for first-time home ownership, is in Frugals.
We love it all. Come on, man. Black lives matter. Black authors matter. Black radio matters. Black small business matters. Black representation matters. Black voters matter.
That was perfect. I loved all of that. We're going to go ahead and take that clip and make it a Snapchat what these kids be playing with. So today, I'd like to speak to the naysayers. And so voters who are super voters like myself, like you don't have to tell us to vote. We get out the vote and we're willing to stand in line to vote. What is the importance of voting early?
Yeah. Well, I think, for me, it's about the public health. I mean, we are in the midst of a pandemic. And so I think to vote early, to vote by mail, to vote early is certainly among some of the safest things that you can do. But I think ultimately, whether you vote by mail or early vote, and you have 4 more days, I think, to register to vote, but you can go to my website, ayannapressley.com/voter information, ayannapressley.com/voter information to get all the relevant dates about the election cycle. You can also check out iwillvote.com, punch in your information. It'll let you know what your registration status is, where early vote locations are, and where you can vote on election day, which is November 3rd. The most important thing, Tayla, is to make a plan. Friends don't let friends not have a plan to vote. So make a plan. And I do believe that being a super voter is one of our superpowers. It's a demonstration of self-agency, self-determination. It is also the resistance. It is also an affirmation. So that's what I see the vote as, casting your ballot, especially now, in that this is the most consequential election, not just in our lifetime, but in our nation's history. It is about resisting racist, cruel, hurtful, harmful policies, a callous and corrupt administration. Black folks, forget 4 years. We cannot afford 4 more minutes under this administration. And it's an affirmation. It's an affirmation of getting us one step closer to racial justice, to climate justice, to economic justice. Now, I know folks will say, well, I'm not really crazy. Potentially they'll say I'm not crazy. I don't know that anybody hears me. I don't know that any of them recognize my struggle, see me, care about me. Here's what I'm going to say to you. Electing, for me, I'm going to be partisan. Electing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they are the door. They are not the destination. You may not accomplish everything that you want, but one thing is for sure, you will not accomplish one thing that serves to preserve, advance, uplift us under the Trump administration. And I know that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will not be cavalier about human life. They are not going to operate with callous disregard about human life. So I think part of the problem with the messaging for so long around voting is that it feels transactional. And I also think that people think that casting your ballot is where your work ends. But that is really where your work begins, because then it is about continuing to organize, to mobilize, to apply pressure, to hold accountable. What you are electing are not saviors. You are electing partners. So who do you think you have the best chance of partnership with? So one, the vote needs to be, we need to do a better job at making it about something that speaks more to transformation than it does transaction. This is about self-agency, determination, the resistance. This is about transforming community and flexing your muscle. This is about ensuring that folks are accountable to you. So it needs to be about transformation, not just transaction. People need to know that once you cast a ballot, your work does not end there, it is beginning there. And then finally, that you have to participate in every election. The tipping point for the protests and demonstrations that we have seen throughout the country, throughout the globe, was our being besieged by these visual images of the murder of unarmed Black Americans in the midst of a pandemic, where you couldn't try to avoid it or rubberneck. You had to watch it. Traumatizing. That was the tipping point. But that's not the only reason why people have been protesting and demonstrating. Yes, it's about police brutality and white supremacy. But again, it is about systemic and structural racism writ large and how that has impacted Black wealth, Black home ownership, Black student debt, Black health outcomes. So this vote is really about the very preservation of our democracy. It's very simple to me. It's like white supremacy versus someone that can embolden white supremacy, someone that won't even denounce white supremacists and people who mean my family harm, and someone that can stand on a stage and affirm that Black lives do matter and that will be a partner with me in canceling Black student debt, in growing Black home ownership, in creating opportunities for Black entrepreneurs, in someone that will preserve the Affordable Care Act. These fools want to dismantle the Affordable Care Act in the midst of a pandemic. I want to partner in making investments in our community health centers. I have 15 community health centers in the Massachusetts 7th Congressional District. 1 in 3 of my constituents get their health care from a health center. Shout out to all our community health centers. They do a tremendous service in helping to combat disparities, and they hire from our community. But they need support. We need a national testing strategy. We need rapid testing. So if you're twisted about everything else, just know these 2 things. Democracy is on the ballot and healthcare is on the ballot. So if we don't have a democracy, we have nothing, right? And our greatest wealth as a nation is the health of our people. So to me, that should be compelling. And again, vote in every election, because the tipping point was about police brutality. Those aren't the only issues, but district attorneys have autonomy, right? So you've got to be, if you care about access to the ballot, then you need to know who your Secretary of State is. If you care about consumer protection, you need to know who your Attorney General is, right? So it's everything, so I know we don't have an elected school committee, but it's everything.
And so I for the naysayers, I just want to talk to the naysayers. Well, you spoke about disregarding human life. Joe voted for the crime bill. He said that everybody was doing it, so he did it. He was just following everyone else. Kamala put tens of thousands of Black men behind jail, and there's cases going on with them. I can't. It's like Trump and Joe Ticket, both of them are equally, and these are things that I'm actively hearing.
So who do you think you have the best opportunity at having a partnership with? Do you want to have a democracy? We have in the other side, not only someone that emboldens white supremacy, but has completely compromised our standing on the world stage and left us vulnerable. So he alienates our allies. He befriends our enemies. He has emboldened foreign interference in our elections, free and fair elections. That's our democracy. That's everything. And what about the fact that his willful criminality and his science denials have resulted in disproportionate death in our communities? Black Americans are 3 times more likely when infected to die from coronavirus because of the comorbidities of structural racism, food apartheid systems, bearing the brunt of environmental injustices, living in unsafe housing, not having rapid transportation, having buses that idle, which creates more carbon emission, which makes us unhealthy. I need y'all to understand this. 400 years of legislated policy violence against us, honestly, is not going to be undone by any one person or any 2 people. That's a fact. Now, your congresswoman, who many of you helped to elect and hold accountable, has taken you with me to Washington, and so I can do things like introduce the first ever bill on childhood trauma, have the first hearing on childhood trauma, introduce a bill to ensure the equitable economic recovery from this pandemic and healthcare response, which is now one of those bills is law. So what I'm saying is, to your point about the 94 crime bill, I introduced the People's Justice Guarantee, which was written in partnership with folks behind the wall at MCI Norfolk, with impacted families, with people from every facet. It is a radical reimagining of our criminal legal system. It is in keeping with much of what our Suffolk County DA, who was a partner with me in the developing of it, has done, which is to decriminalize poverty, low-level offenses, substance use, mental health, homelessness. Why are we criminalizing fare evasion? If someone is jumping a turnstile because they need to get home or they need to get to their job, they don't have it. Public transit should be free. It's a public good. So these are, in my bill, I call for the ending of the militarization of our police, abolishing the federal death penalty, not allowing federal funds to be used to fund school police. Now, the People's Justice Guarantee, who do you think I have a better chance of getting that tenets of that signed into law? Someone who emboldens white supremacy, who refers to the people in Charlottesville Black lives who equates Black Lives Matter with being domestic terrorists. You know, so like I hear folks' frustration, and like I've said many times before, I don't think people don't vote because they're ignorant or apathetic or don't know better. They don't vote because they know too much. And that knowledge is informed by their lived experience and their hardships and their struggles every day. So this is a door, not a destination. Who's going to be a partner? You know, for me, it's very stark. It's like fascism versus democracy. White supremacy versus someone that can affirm that my life matters and is going to be a partner with me in actualizing justice, in reversing the hurt that has been caused in our communities. And first and foremost, ensuring an equitable public health response when a vaccine is available. But first, we got to get a national testing strategy. We don't have it, and we got to have rapid testing. And it's going to ensure that our businesses recover. You know, I'll tell you this. Senator Harris and I introduced a bill called the Saving Our Street Act, SOS, a $124.5 billion grant program, because when we did a convening with BECMA, we heard loud and clear from our Black and brown small business owners, we don't want loans. So this is a $124.5 billion grant program, and 75% of those grants must go to historically underrepresented businesses. Those are our businesses. The Saving Our Street Act. I want that to be a law. That's a bill I wrote with Senator Harris. Do you think it has an increased likelihood of passing when the former senator who wrote the bill is now vice president? The number one priority has got to be our recovery, is getting this pandemic under control, which is raging, and then ensuring an equitable both public health and economic recovery. That's the number one thing right now, y'all. People are on the precipice of an eviction tsunami. I wish the governor had extended that moratorium. Food insecurity is raging out of control. Unemployment is is unprecedented. It's never been like this. So what's wreaked all that havoc? The pandemic.
You've been able to have conversations with our governor to ask to go ahead and extend the moratorium?
I have been in regular communication with all relevant stakeholders about my public position on that and my support of that. And I also took a public stance and believe that Representative Mike Connolly put forward a great bill around that. These are the things that I've been pushing for on the federal level as well. So the canceling of rent and mortgages, eviction and foreclosure moratoriums, more direct cash assistance to families for reoccurring, because we're going to be digging out of this for a long time. The canceling of student loan debt. I'm also fighting to make sure that people's credit reports, are not permanently ruined. If your credit score your credit score determines everything. I don't even have the time to talk to you about all the work and the amendments that I've passed to ensure that folks have an easier time at getting marks off their credit. It's very important. And because of what you do in real estate, Taylor, you should have me come on and just talk about that. But your credit score determines everything. And so I don't think it's right that if you have a necessary medical procedure, that debt goes on your credit report. I don't think it's right that if you have a foreclosure because of a pandemic and because the GOP-led Senate hasn't gotten any money to you in the midst of unprecedented unemployment and a pandemic to pay your house note, that your credit report should be impacted. And those errors, they don't make it easy for you to fix those. And that stuff stays. So one of the things I propose is that your credit report is only effective for 4 years instead of 7. But I also think a lot of the things that are currently on your report shouldn't be there at all. So it's a conversation for another day, but I'm just saying that if you guys, dig deep, do your homework into the things that I'm proposing that are responsive bills, directly shaped and informed by the people of the 7th, I am going to have a better chance at getting those bills into law, like the Healthy Mommies Act to combat Black maternal mortality. Like my proposal with Representative Omar to cancel student debt, federal and private, a minimum of $30,000. My People's Justice Guarantee, my End Push Out legislation to stop the criminalization of Black and brown girls in our schools, my bill counseling not criminalization in our schools, which bars the use of federal funds to hire school police. In the last 2 decades, we've spent $1 billion, that's with a B, dollars on school police as a nation. We have 46,000 school police officers, while every child does not have equitable access to a school nurse, social worker, or guidance counselor. And by the way, their trauma in the midst of this pandemic is only growing. I did a youth-led town hall. I spoke with several young people who live in households, East Boston, Chelsea, where they have lost in multi-generational households, a grandparent, one parent, multiple people living with coronavirus. They're all home, being at school, learning remotely, have access to one laptop, don't have a hotspot, helping to raise their younger sibling, don't know where the next meal is coming from. So that trauma is only growing. So all I'm just saying is, I don't operate in a vacuum. You guys are my co-architects in drafting legislation. And I'm very proud that I've introduced more bills than any other freshman member of Congress, because policy is my love language. Because if we can legislate hurt and harm, we can legislate healing and equity and justice if we're intentional about it. But none of those things are going to happen if I don't have a partner. And we have a real opportunity right now to not only strengthen our majority in the House, to take back the Senate. There's a real opportunity there. We could really regain control of the Senate and to take back the White House. But again, also on the ballot right now are important ballot questions, right? On the back of your ballot, ranked choice voting. I'm endorsing that question because I think it's a way for us to have a more representative government. And maybe, we should have somebody come and talk about that. But ostensibly, like how it would work is you vote for who's your number one, but then you can also pick who's your number two and who's your number three. So instead of us feeling like we have to operate in these electoral one-offs about a more diverse and representative body, you can vote for everyone. You just rank them when you're voting. So, maybe you're going to say, okay, well, for an at-large seat, maybe you're going to say, well, Julia, is my number one. Michelle's running for mayor, but Julie's my number one. Michelle's my number two, whatever. Like whatever that looks like for you. Anissa is my number, whatever your order is, you can make Anissa your number one. You can make Michelle your number two, Julia your number three. So instead of you're only having one vote, you can rank your choices. That's why it's called ranked choice voting. Now, I don't want to get in trouble with the listeners. Listen, y'all, I'm not ranking people according to my love for them. That's why I gave you 3 different scenarios, because I got love for everybody. I served on that body. I have genuine respect for everyone there. Those are still my colleagues in government. I'm just offering you guys scenarios around what that could look like. If you want a real-time example, look at Cambridge. Cambridge elected, the first openly gay Black mayor, the first openly gay lesbian mayor. Now they have a Muslim AAPI woman as mayor. So, how they work is you're elected to the city council and the city council votes on who should be mayor. Okay, but the point is they have a more representative government, and that has everything to do with the fact that they have ranked choice voting. So as you vote, you can rank your choices. So you don't have to do these one-offs about diversity and representation, because everybody can get on. You just rank them. You just rank them.
I really hate that we have come all the way to the top of the hour. I would love to schedule some more time and definitely have you on speaking about credit, because that is one of the topics that we do speak on regularly, because it's so important. But we had questions about like the Self-Determination Act that you are working, you co-sponsored the Self-Determination Act for Puerto Rico. I wanted to take a deeper dive into that, but we have come to the top of the hour. We have no more time, but I do want a t-shirt.
I gotta say, guys, my point is that your ballot, it's not just about the top of the ticket. You have state senators and state representatives that are on the ballot. You need to show up and vote for them because the things you care the most about, that's what they're working on at the State House. They will also be the ones looking at the census data to redistrict, which is very critical. So vote top of the ticket, pay attention to state rep, state Senate races, and the ballot questions. Tayla, I will come back for credit. And I want to say on the Self-Determination Act, again, that's a decision that I made in partnership with community. What I like about this bill is it is about self-determination. It's not taking a position, for or against statehood. It's about the self-determination of the people to determine for themselves what is the path forward. What does that look like? But again, I'm happy to come and talk more about that and what that process would look like in terms of the mechanics of the bill another time. So we can do credit, we can talk about PR and whatever else is on folks' minds.
Absolutely. What's on my mind right now is how do I get policy as my love letter t-shirt?
Oh, policy is your love language. Yes, I saw that you liked our selfie yesterday. Me and Mr. Harris. Yeah, you can get those on our website. That's just facts. Policy is my love language. We've got crew neck sweatshirts. We've got t-shirts. We've got a long sleeve. So I'll take care of you, Tayla. Okay?
Take care of you. So this is my line, Soul Naked. Yes. So I'm going to make sure I get you one.
You know what I thought about that at Black Market? I miss Black Market. I did. I thought you got that at Black Market. Okay. So we'll rock each other's merchandise. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. I hope you have an amazing day. Thank you so much. Rep Ayanna Pressley.
That was big thing. Big thing. Yeah.
I am Tayla Andre. Waking Up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up, but about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. Everything Tayla Andre, TaylaAndre.com. Mwah.